listening to We Watch Movies.
I'm Ava.
And I'm Jenna.
And we watch movies. So this week we watched Gunpowder Milkshake, which came out on July 14th of 2021. It is starring Karen Gillan, Lena Headey. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing all of these names, because I probably am, but I'm pretty sure I'm not, but also I might be. And a bunch of other star cast members, and it's literally very much of a stacked cast, I will say that. Currently sits at a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes. And yeah, so we're going to talk about it. Jenna, you want to tell us what your initial reaction was for this movie?
It had librarians who are also hit women, so it was a good movie. That was my initial thought. I didn't really need much else to enjoy this movie, I'm gonna be honest. But I did enjoy it. I had a really great time. I liked it more than I thought I would because I really didn't know anything about it. But I really enjoyed it. It didn't it had a story, but it was also very much like an action movie, but it was a smart action movie, which I appreciated.
Yeah, it was basically, it follows this girl, Sam, who, for some reason, when you Google if you Google the movie, her name is Ava, but her name is Sam in the movie, which is really weird. I was because I Googled the cast before I watched the movie, so every time they said Sam, I was like, oh, she's gonna reveal that her name is actually Ava later. I was like, when's she gonna be like, actually, my name is not Sam or something? But she never did that, and I was like, okay, fine. Be that way, Sam. Could have had a cooler name, but whatever. But yeah, it follows this girl, Sam, who was abandoned by her mom 15 years ago, and her mom was a hit woman, and now she's a hit woman, and she's really good at what she does, and she goes around killing people. And then there's this guy who stole money, and she's supposed to get the money back, but his daughter is being held hostage, and that's why he stole the money, so she needs to go save his daughter now. And then she gets emotionally attached to his daughter, and since she can't return the money because it exploded, the people are like, you should die now. And then she meets up with her mom again, and these librarians who hide guns and books and stuff, and they beat up people. And then I definitely agree with Jenna about liking this movie more than I expected. I was really intrigued by it because I haven't seen Karen Gillan or Gillan. I think it's Gillan, right?
Wait, are you really asking me? Because I have no idea.
Nebula. I'll just refer to her as Nebula. I know how to pronounce that word. Because I don't know. I don't want to just refer to her as Karen because that would be weird. But yeah, no, I haven't seen her as anything but Nebula before. Hair is good for her. It's a good look.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect. And I mean, in a lot of ways, this character is similar, kind of has abandonment issues, likes to kill things. But I don't know. So I wouldn't say that it shows a bunch of depth or something in her or much range, I guess, in her acting abilities, but it is really a good performance, I think. As good as it can, because it is just an action movie, so it's not super acting heavy. But no, I was definitely satisfied, I guess. I was pleased. I wasn't upset about her performance or anything. So I think she did a really good job, as did the whole cast. This cast of immortal women.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, okay, I already knew that Angela Bassett was immortal. Okay, I knew that. That was already established. But then you pull out the woman from Spy Kids, which was 20 years ago, and she looks literally identical. And then there's Cersei Lannister and everybody, and they all look the same. I don't know the woman who played Florence. I didn't recognize her. But everybody just looks the same. They're all immortal. I swear to God, they do not age.
You know, I really loved all of the performances by everyone in this movie, even if they weren't given like a whole lot of like depth to it. I think they still did do a good job with like what they were given and what they were kind of like supposed to do. And I agree. It was good acting for what the movie needed.
And I want to go back to when you said it was a smart action movie, because I do think it was really innovative with a lot of their sequences. Like, it had this one sequence where she had to fight, but her arms were paralyzed, so she had to tape like a knife and a gun to her hands. I don't know how she pulled the trigger, but I will suspend my disbelief for that moment. They had another one where it was they had a basic car chase, but it was cool in some ways. I don't know. She killed some guy with a mop at one point. She beat somebody up with a bowling ball. Oh yeah, and then there's this very long sequence in the library, so they have this hub for like arms dealing and giving out supplies or whatever for these hit women. At this library, and it's like run by who they call like librarians, which made Jenna very excited. Jenna sees books, she goes yay.
I saw a library and I went yay.
But yeah, so they have like these weapons hidden throughout like all the different shelves and everything, so these women were going around and like pulling out books and then manifesting weapons. And then there was a cute little sequence at the end in slow-mo and everything that was cool. And like, it wasn't boring action, because action can get really boring sometimes, especially when it's like a whole action movie and they do the same kind of action over and over again. Like, we've watched some action movies on this channel that I have been bored out of my mind watching.
Yes.
Jenna, what was that one called? Do you remember? I think they were trapped in like a school or something.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
What was it? Oh, the second, right? The second?
Yeah, it was the second.
I don't even know why it was called the second.
That movie. I have no idea what that was.
I don't think I ever figured out what the title meant or anything. It was just like... Still waiting on the second, but... Whatever. But that's an example of a movie where, like, it was the same kind of action over and over again, and they just did the same thing, and there wasn't really any, like, innovation, I guess. They didn't try to do different things or anything, which... That was kind of boring, but this wasn't. This was really good at keeping you, like, on your toes and coming up with new ways to make the fight interesting. And I really did appreciate that, like, a lot.
Yeah, because, like, in this movie you have, like, an establishing fight where you get to see the main character and how she fights, but then you kind of have a do-over where now she's fighting the same people, but they're hurt and she can't use her arms, so then you have to work around that. And then you have the car scene where now, instead of like fighting hand to hand, you have to figure out how to get out of that situation, and everything kind of just built on itself, and they used their environment very well and the different things they had on hand. So it wasn't just the same, like, oh, you gotta punch this person, use this weapon here. It was, okay, what do we realistically have in this scene that we can use that also shows, like, that the character is good at their job and can adapt to different situations. And I don't know, normally movies don't do that, and it made me happy that someone doing the fight choreography was good at their job.
The only person that Jenna thinks is worthy of any sort of credibility in the fight choreography universe is whoever. And I need to figure out who was the fight choreographer, because that would be cool.
I mean, it's not just this movie. Like, to be clear, like, other movies have done that. But just sometimes in the universe we live in today, we just don't get very innovative fight scenes. But then you watch a movie like this and you wonder, why can't all fight scenes do it like this movie?
I do think their environment was also really interesting. Like, they had very distinct locations. Like, they had their little hospital, which was it was sterile. It was like this shiny hallway that they were doing it in. Um, they had the library, which was awesome because they had these different rooms. So they had the main room, which was just this big area with like bookshelves. They had the back room where it was like their hidden hideout, I guess, and that was a fight with like a van and a machine gun. But then they had these 2 kids sections, which they were the coolest rooms I've ever seen in a library. And I've seen some pretty cool rooms in libraries, I'm not gonna lie. But they were like, they had one that was like Enchanted Forest themed and the other one that was like ocean themed. And it was so cool. And I want to go to a library that has that. That'd be so cool.
I wanted that library to be real.
Oh, I found who the fight choreographer is. Laurent Demianoff. I don't entirely know if I pronounced that name correct, but yeah. Laurent Demianoff, son of okay. Here's the thing. I know it's not Georges. It's like a French George, but I don't know how to say French George.
Isn't it just George without an S?
It's George E.S.
Yeah, I think it's just
Is it George? I don't know. But whoever he is, Demianoff. And he was apparently the pioneer of Kung Fu in France. Wow.
Hey.
But yeah, so the pioneer of Kung Fu in France, his son, choreographed the fight scenes in this movie. According to Below the Line News.
Interesting. Here, I'm Google translating French George.
Okay.
Does that come through on your end?
Nope.
Okay. It's like George.
George.
Yeah, something like that.
George. So you're saying that I shouldn't just say Georges?
I mean, I know that for a fact that that's incorrect, but you do you.
I'm gonna go meet some French people and call them Georges. Just all of them.
Okay, Ava.
Anyways, there is also some cool stunt coordinators. I'm on IMDb right now. But anyways, enough about Georges. This was definitely really cool. The cast is like it was so weird because I like recognized like half of them, and I mean that's like a normal thing for me, but not normally that high of a percentage. Like, because I recognized Sam, I recognized Scarlett, I recognized Madeline and Anna May, and her name is Anna May. Who else? I'm pretty sure I recognized what was his name? Nathan. But I don't know if I did or not. I recognized the McAllister guy, the father. I thought I recognized the nephew, but I didn't actually. But like all these people, there's like a lot of people. And I recommend looking into the cast when you watch the movie because there are a lot of cool people. Yeah. It's a cool cast. I like movies that have like new people because I like to see new faces in stuff, but also every once in a while when they have movies that are like just like a star-studded cast with a bunch of people that are like tried and true performers that like you recognize from like big things. It's always just really fun. Like I mean that happened with Devil All the Time, which came out in September, and that has like so many like really talented actors, and it's just fun because it's just a lot of people who are really good at what they do working together doing what they do, and it's like always just a recipe for goodness, you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, Jenna, something that I did notice a little bit, but you probably noticed more. What'd you think of the soundtrack?
I enjoyed the soundtrack. It wasn't always what you would expect for a hit woman assassin movie, action movie, anything with lots of fighting. Like, I'm not saying it was like completely like out of nowhere, but I really enjoyed it. And it used both like songs that like exist outside of the movie and also original score. And I liked both instances where it would use them. I wasn't. Sometimes I get disappointed by the song choices, and I'm like, man, I really just wish you had done your own thing here because I am not vibing with the choices you made. But I thought everything worked out really well, and it added to the whole kind of like neon filtered world they had going on in this movie. And especially there were these instances too where you would have like these really great like fight scene music times, but then at other points you would have this more the subtitles called it like dreamy, but the word I was originally going to use was like whimsical kind of music that went more with Sam and Emily when they were having a moment. So I enjoyed the music in this movie. It definitely wasn't just cast to the side. It was actually given some thought and purpose here.
Something that I wouldn't really consider this part of the soundtrack, but I totally agree with you on everything that you just said. But the ringtone, I don't know why, but it just made me feel some type of way whenever it like played. And it was like it was probably the juxtaposition, and they probably knew it was gonna do that, but it was like freaking me out, you know? Like if you played that ringtone just like in real world, I'd like be like, yo, that's weird.
Yeah, and the phone was interesting. The panda phone.
Because it was the kid's phone, right?
Yeah.
The 8 3/4 kid. You know what is a feat that this movie pulled off?
Is it gonna be that you didn't hate the kid?
Yes! The kid didn't annoy me. That's very difficult. Because children in movies annoy me a lot, especially in like action movies because they're usually useless. But she wasn't useless. I mean, she was useless sometimes, but she wasn't useless all the time. And it was like I don't know, it was fine. And I mean I got kind of annoyed when she was like 8 3/4, but she didn't do it so much that it was like obnoxious. You know, it was just enough for it to be like cute, kind of, or annoying in a cute way, I guess. Yeah, I was almost gonna say cute in an annoying way, but
like it was realistic that like in that situation it would be something that a child would kind of like hold on to. That like, yeah, I don't really know what's happening, so I just want people to get my age right.
And there were moments when like the adults were interacting with this kid that like, I don't know, they just stuck out to me as like more realistic. And it was like this moment when Madeline was taking her back and she was like, wow, you're so helpful, are you sure you're 8 3/4 and not 28 3/4? And Emily was so proud, like she looked so proud when she said that. And I can remember like times in like real life when adults said that to me or said that to somebody else or something. Because that's like, I mean, I know it's like a cheesy thing, but that's like a really realistic thing that was in this, the script. And it was just, it was like kind of refreshing because I don't think that there was any like weird writing in this movie. It was like everything seemed to fit. It was kind of natural. I might be forgetting something. There were some things that were awkward that I can get into in a moment, but like the writing and like the dialogue I felt like was natural. And I mean, I just watched something else where it was like it was so evidently a millennial writing Gen Z characters, and I was like, oh my god, your millennial is showing. Not that being a millennial is a bad thing, but like it was weird. They like side parted the Gen Z girl and made her type like weird text slang that nobody uses.
What are you talking about?
I was watching American Horror Stories that came out on Thursday.
Can you repeat it? It cut out.
Oh, I was watching American Horror Stories, and I was really confused because I thought it was... I didn't realize that it was a spin-off of American Horror Story, and I thought it was season 10, and I got confused because I was like, wait, this is not the cast that they promised for season 10. This is a different thing. And I thought that this was season 10, but it wasn't. It's a spin-off, and I was like, wait, question mark? What's going on here? But it was good. I'm definitely going to be watching more of it when more things come out. I hope more things are coming out. If more things aren't coming out, I'll be really sad. But I don't know. I know that actual season 10 comes out in August, so that's cool. But that's off topic. I think that this movie had natural dialogue, and I did appreciate that.
Yeah, this movie felt very no nonsense, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Like, it came here and knew exactly what it wanted to do, and it did it, and it wasn't going to bother with doing anything else.
I also think that, for the most part, the pacing was really good. I think that the library scene, like that fight scene, was a bit long, but otherwise, I think that they paced it really well, because it was just like a day that they made into the movie. It was they just cut down a day, because like sometimes there are movies that will take like weeks or something and cut it down into like 1.5 hours, and I'll be like, that was rushed or something. Or sometimes they'll just like make it, it'll just feel really awkward if the pacing is messed up, and I think that they nailed that here, because things didn't feel rushed, but like for the most part things didn't feel drawn out, just that one library scene. And I don't know, it was just, I think it was cool. In that sense, it really did a good job there, which I think also helped make it feel, like you said, no nonsense. It was getting down to the point, so it didn't have a lot of fluff. It wasn't like a 6-hour movie or something. That'd be ridiculous. Imagine watching a 6-hour movie for this podcast, Jenna. Psh.
I mean, like 4 hours, that's totally reasonable, but 6? Nuh-uh.
We would never do such a thing for this podcast.
No.
Nope. Never.
Yeah, and I agree that the library scene was a little long because it made it feel more like the climax of the movie than the actual climax in the diner, which was definitely supposed to be like the thematic climax, with it being where the character started and kind of this cycle starting again, but in a different way. But when you have this super long fight scene that kind of has everyone involved taking up so much time in a way that became almost a little distracting before your actual climax was a little weird. And also the beginning of this movie, maybe this was just me, but I couldn't really tell where the movie really started, if that makes any sense. Like, it just, the beginning felt like multiple different beginnings, and none of them seemed to fit well together.
I didn't really have a problem with the beginning, I don't think. Maybe I just didn't care enough to have an issue with the beginning. It was definitely, it didn't stick out to me as amazing or anything, though. It was just, like, a beginning. And the diner was cool, though, and I definitely agree with you on that was supposed to be the climax at the end. It was kind of weird, though, at the end, how when she was getting into the diner, the sky was, like, so weird. And it's like, because it looked like it was, like, in a different dimension. It was a fantasy world, a fever dream kind of feeling that I got from that diner in the last scene, and I didn't get that from any other moments in the rest of the thing. I mean, I got a lot of, like, I don't know, liminal vibes from things in this movie, but not like that kind of vibe. And then the sky was just so weird, and it just didn't feel like it was an actual place. It felt like it felt like I could see the green screen, and it was kind of but I don't know, everything else about yeah, but I mean, that was the only problem I ever had with any of the environment that they were in, and that was only when they were outside of the diner. When they were inside, it was fine too.
Yeah, no, and I don't know, the beginning, like it wasn't bad, just, I don't know, something about it rubbed me the wrong way, but it didn't with you, so who knows? Like, it's definitely, like, not reason enough to be like, oh, this movie was so bad because these parts didn't always seem to work properly. Like, no, these are not huge problems in my opinion. It's just, if it had been given, like, one more pass in the writing room, perhaps these could have been solved, but it's also not the worst thing that could have happened.
I feel like they could have, instead of doing the young Sam bits as, like, a kind of flashback type deal, they could have had that be the very beginning with her as a young kid in the booth, and then after, like, her mom leaves or something, then go into her doing the other fight and getting called into the diner afterwards. Maybe it was just a little bit weird because of, like, the order of things, maybe?
Yeah, because I got really confused because it showed, like, her, like, I think the movie opened with her, like, going on the mission that she ended up killing the people she wasn't supposed to, but then it said 15 years earlier, and I was like, wait, like, the way they framed it was weird, and I wish that they had done it in the reverse order.
Yeah. They did, I don't know, see, they did, okay, so I just saw Black Widow, and they start it straight out as, in a flashback, or, well, not really a flashback at that point. They start it when she's young, and then they have this transition into when she's old. And I think that the way that they did it was really effective, and they could have done something similar. Not exactly the same, but similar for this movie, and it would have been really successful. Like, in just, like, ordering of things and formatting it, it would have really worked well. I don't know.
Was that a dog in the background?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I thought there was, like, a duck outside my house, just the way it sounded.
I'm gonna tell my dog you said that. I'm gonna tell him you said that he sounds like a duck.
No, I don't mean any offense, because it was faint and just, like, the cadence of it. Like, listen, we were, this was, like, 10 minutes ago. I, like, literally had a heart attack because my water bottle popped a little bit, because it's just one of those like, non-reusable ones, and I literally thought someone was breaking in here to, like, kill me.
You've watched too much Gunpowder Milkshake, Jenna.
I mean, I guess I have. It was really loud and I wasn't expecting it.
We've watched too many Hitman movies.
It would have been hilarious if I just randomly started screaming.
Wait. Hold on. It would have been hilarious if I just randomly started screaming.
Because, like, you were talking, and I wasn't muted, and I was frightened, so...
I thought you meant, like, right now. Like, if somebody came to murder you just,
I mean,
like,
I
right now. I was like, wait. I was like, wait, are you saying that if somebody came to murder you right now, it'd be funny? And I was really confused.
No, it would be devastating. We would all be so sad.
Yes. All 34 of our subscribers would be depressed.
Yes.
They'd be like, oh man, my favorite podcast.
Well, no, only 33 of them because I'm one of our subscribers and I would be dead, so I couldn't be sad.
Oh, I'm like 4 of our subscribers. I'm sorry, I'm outing myself right now. But no, it's fine. What else was good about this movie? Oh, I was gonna say something awkward I thought about this movie. When they first introduced the nephew character, he was really strangely framed every time, with his hair, like, in his face purposefully. And it was like a design choice, but it was, I mean, I get that it was like, oh, it's supposed to make him look mysterious and scary, but it just made him look like a dork, and it looked like he was doing that on purpose to be more intimidating, but he wasn't intimidating until later when he actually had his hair out of his face.
Yeah, I mean, like, part of me is like, I feel like that's in character, but the other part of me was like, no, it doesn't make any sense, because the character is not some, like, mysterious force or anything. Like, we know that it's the main villain's nephew, and we know that he's going to be the main antagonizing force that's following our main character around, and, like, that's nothing special. It's not like he has any, like, certain tie to the main character or anything. It's just he's trying to kill her, and that's it. Like, there's nothing mysterious about that. I solved the mystery.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely not a villain-driven movie. It's definitely a protagonist-driven movie. And so yeah, if you're a super heavy villain person and that's like why you watch movies or read books or something, then you know this might not be your favorite movie or something. I mean, the villains were entertaining, but they weren't the star of the show.
Oh, and another thing that bothered me was how they handled, like, Emily and her reaction and thoughts about Sam killing her dad. Because I was glad that they didn't save that till, like, the climax and do this big whole, like, Lyra reveal thing. Like, I think it came up fairly naturally in the movie. So I liked how they initially told her, but then she was just very, like, nonchalant about it the rest of the time. And I mean, I don't know, she is 8 3/4, so maybe that has something to do with it. But like, she just was like very like, oh, okay, you killed my dad. I mean, I get it, I guess, maybe. And I was like, that's it.
Yeah, they kind of swept a few things under the rug, especially at the end. Like, you have Sam waking up with nightmares of Emily killing her, and then there's like no continuation of that like thread. It's just, oh, she's like, oh, besties with Emily right now already, and that was kind of weird. I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit more tension between the two that could have been built on, but alas, they did not.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm not complaining because those storylines can be so contrite and done so many times and honestly just painful to watch. But this felt like a little too much in the other direction where you purposely, like, let your audience, like, wait for that other shoe to drop and then, like, it never really falls. And it just feels like a waste of time to the audience where it's like, oh, I thought we were going somewhere with this and then you didn't. Like, I don't know, like, part of me is like, yay, we don't have to deal with, like, this infused conflict in the plot, but the other part of me doesn't really think that's believable.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't have much of a problem with it, but, like, there were, like, it was kind of unfinished, I guess. Another thing that bothered me that wasn't even nearly as important as that was that, Angela Bassett, I think, was the baddest B-word of all of them, and they gave her the wimpiest weapon in that big library fight. They were so small. They were little baby hammers, and she was just hitting people. And like the other girl, Florence or whatever, she got that cool chain moment going on. Then Scarlett had the had the guns with knives, and I don't really know what Sam was using. They were like sticks that also like blew up or something. I don't know.
They were like
and then
sticks.
yeah, and then Madeline was using that giant machine gun, and then she got a tomahawk, and then they give Anna Mae just these 2 little hammers. And I mean, she was able to do some cool things with it. Like, she did this thing where she, like, used the back on his mouth. Like, tried to remove a nail from his mouth. But, I don't know. They could have just given her something cooler. I mean, they were in the shipwreck room. They had the perfect opportunity to make her beat them up with an anchor, and they didn't. And I was like, oh, sad.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you technically already had, like, Madeline using an axe in the basement, so I understand that there was a lot of fight scenes and you had to find, like, all of these different weapons and then figure out a way to choreograph with all of them. But, like, something a little more interesting than, like, a hammer. I mean, don't get me wrong, the hammers were cool, but
they were the wimpiest of all of them.
Well, maybe it goes to show that she really is just the baddest one around.
Keyword.
They gave her a hammer, and she still walked away unscathed.
I mean, yeah, but they could have at least done, you know that thing that people do when they're pirates and they, like, fight people, and they hit people's face on the spinning, steering wheel?
Mm-hmm.
They could have done that. True. I don't know, she could have choked somebody with a black pearl flag. She could have beat somebody up with a fishing rod. She could have fished them. Come on, there are so many options instead of just hammers. And those hammers were, like, not well hidden. I mean, the chain kind of fit with the vibe of the Enchanted Forest room, even though the chain would have fit better in the water room, but still. But they were just 2 hammers stuck to the side of the boat. They weren't even hidden. They weren't even blending in, like, at all. It could have been so much cooler. Gosh.
Listen, the person in charge of that just had a busy week, and they just needed to pick something and roll with it.
Okay, look, they could have had, bear with me, okay? They could have had a fish tank in there. And she could have fought them with lobsters. She could have thrown crustaceans at them.
Okay.
I have a picture from some random comic or something, I don't know what it is, on my wall. That is just like some guy throwing a lobster at some other person. And I don't know why I put it on my wall. It just made me feel happy inside to look at it. And it's there, and I think that they could have put that into the movie, and she could have thrown lobster. She could have thrown an octopus. Octopuses are cool.
Yeah, but, like, those poor sea creatures, you know? They don't deserve that.
Well, a lot of innocent people died in this movie. Well, I mean, not a lot of innocent ones, but a lot of people died in this movie. And
you know what? Sea creatures had no stake in the game.
There was one innocent guy who died, and I'm certain that they've killed other innocent people in the past. They wouldn't care much about the lobster. Or better yet, if they got a big tank, they could have thrown them into sharks.
Okay,
I mean,
okay,
that's
this
pushing
is a
it
library,
a little bit for a library.
It's a library.
Oh, you're saying that a library can't have a shark tank. Wow, okay.
I mean, it can. I'm just saying, realistically, they're also trying to stay kind of discreet to the whole, we're actually hit women, and this is also the place where we store all of our supplies and loan them out to people.
Okay, but if they're trying to be discreet and, like, not have people come to their library, which I don't know if they were just saying, oh, check the self-help thing, like, as a joke, because, like, oh, haha, nobody gets self-help books. But, like, because I assume if there's books everywhere that are just filled with guns, then I assume they don't want a ton of people coming to their library. So then why are their kids' rooms so cool that adults would want to come see them? Come on.
Well, maybe they
Come
don't keep
on.
things in the books in the kids' room.
Well, yeah, but, like, that would still bring adults to their library, and then the adults will be like, maybe I want to get an actual book here. Because, I mean, the library itself is really cool, too. And, like...
Okay, well, I'm thinking the kids' rooms are kind of supposed to be, like, babysitting rooms, or just places you can leave your kids, like daycare, for any of the hit people that have kids. That was kind of the vibe I got. And then if you actually wanted a book, you can ask one of the librarians, hey, I want a real book. Sans weapons, please.
Well, like, what if you were a regular person and you just went to the library?
Then I feel like the librarian behind the desk that day would realize that you're a regular person and deal with it.
Like, imagine you just go to a library, right? Like, it would probably end up on BuzzFeed, like, oh, this library has really cool kids' places. And then you're like, oh, I want to go take Instagram pictures. You go to there, and then you're, like, looking around the actual books. You're like, while I'm here, I probably should get an actual book. And you wander into the self-help section, and you open it up, and there's, like, $100,000 in cash inside of the book.
Best library ever. Why do you think I go to the library so much?
And then you're like, I think I should take this one out. And then you go up to the librarian, and she's like... Pew pew.
Oh my god, they wouldn't kill you.
How do you know they wouldn't kill you? If you found their $100,000 in cash stuffed inside of a book in their library,
I feel like
you would have seen too much.
Well, maybe they could be like, oh, that's like, we don't trust the bank and we didn't think anyone would check this book out, so we just kept it in there. Whoops.
Okay, what if you stumbled upon the fake, what is it, passports?
Okay, listen, Ava. I didn't come here to shoot bullet holes into the plot of this movie.
I just don't understand. I mean, I get that it's a cover, and it's a good cover, but I don't understand why they have weapons in the main room. I thought the weapons should have just stayed in the back room.
Okay, yeah,
or, like,
I do
under
agree
the
with
counter.
you. That's what I was thinking, too.
So I was like, this is just a liability. You're gonna get caught, my dude. Because, like, if somebody comes during work hours or whatever and is like, hey, I need a special book, then they could be like, oh, I'll check in the back for you. That makes sense. I wouldn't think anything of that as, like, a passerby. Like, if somebody came to the library where I was, like, looking for some books to read. Not that I do that often. Okay, say I was Jenna, and I was at a library looking for books to read, and somebody came up to the library and was like, hey, do you have this specific book? And she'd be like, oh, let me check in the back. I wouldn't think anything of that. And she comes back with a book and hands it to the person, and the person leaves. I wouldn't think anything of that. Not at all.
Yeah, no, like, especially in a library like that, like, if I'm thinking of the library in town and someone went to the back, I'd be like, bro, there's nothing there. But, like, the library in this movie, I could definitely believe that they'd have some, like, rare books or something that, like, would be in the back that they would loan out to people. So, yeah, I guess appearances are everything.
I just think it's, even if people just don't get self-help books, there's gonna be that one person who wants a self-help book, and they're gonna come in and they're gonna leave with a gun, and you're gonna be blown. And I don't know why I said your cover's gonna be blown, and it's gonna be awkward, and it's gonna be messy, and yeah. So just keep you could keep books under the front desk. Or you could keep them in, like, secret compartments on the shelves or something. That would work, too. I wouldn't put it past them to have secret compartments. Okay, but just right there on the shelf. And, like, every book. Because, like, it's not like there were books that were regular books in that section either. Like, she pulled out every book that had something in it.
Well, she was only pulling out the big books.
I don't know. You could stuff a passport in a little book. You could stuff a knife in a little book. And they were all really nice books, too. Like, they were, like, old hardcovers that were really pretty that they were, like, cutting up and putting guns in them. Like, they weren't, like, the cringy self-help covers that you'll get, like, at a regular library.
Yeah, and I like how, like, almost all of the books were all, like, written by female authors or something. Because sometimes movies that, like, have, like, action movies, I guess in particular, that have, like, an all-female cast, like, tend to go a little overboard with the whole, like, look, strong women, and it doesn't always turn out super well. I like how this movie was more subtle and realistic with their approach of how they did that, and they didn't try to just throw it in the audience face of what they were doing.
It was very girls versus boys, though.
That is true.
Like, if you noticed, every person she fought was a man.
Yep.
And every person on her team was a woman.
Yep.
So it was very, they were very much fighting the cooties. And then there was that whole conversation about the dad not understanding his daughters. I don't know, but
that whole conversation, I couldn't tell if they were trying to make it a little cringe or not.
Yeah, but it was, I don't know, I think it was, it did a good job at being, feminist without being obnoxious about it. Because, like, there are certainly times when things can be obnoxious about it. I mean, like, it's good when people try, certainly, but, like, sometimes it's a bit on the nose, you know? You're just a little bit much.
Like, I can appreciate the effort, but also, did you fully think this through? Probably not.
I don't know, have I talked about that endgame scene before? I feel like I have.
I feel like you have to.
Again. Because I love that movie, I just don't love that one part. Because all of the women left their personal fights that they were doing just to make a money shot. And then they went back to those fights. And it was like, okay, I mean, I get it. I get what you're trying to do. But I feel like, I mean, it wasn't really a girl power scene, I guess, in Infinity War, but there kind of was. Because it was the moment when, Proxima Midnight was with Wanda and was like, you're gonna die alone, and then Black Widow was like, she's not alone, and then Okoye was there and they had that like fight. I feel like that was way more like successful in being not obnoxious than the Endgame one was.
Yeah, especially because that seems like something like in character that Black Widow would actually do and say.
Yeah. It was just obnoxious because Black Widow couldn't be in that one in Endgame. And instead of Black Widow being there, it was Carol.
Carol Danvers, right? That's her name. I didn't actually watch that whole movie.
Does it bother you that there's a Carol Danvers in the MCU and a Kara Danvers in the Arrowverse?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't follow the Arrowverse that closely, but a little bit. It's a little confusing down here sometimes.
See, I mean, I watched the majority of Arrow. I didn't finish the last season because I wasn't really feeling it. And I haven't been fully caught up on The Flash, but that was like my main show in the Arrowverse was The Flash. I'm waiting for the new season to hit Netflix, July 28th, I believe. But I never actually watched Supergirl. But I know her name is Kara Danvers. And I know she's less annoying than Carol Danvers. And here's the thing about Carol Danvers, okay? Everybody says that if she's your least favorite character in the MCU, if you don't like Carol Danvers, you are sexist. And you're just mad that she's a strong female character. I mean, that may be the case for some people, but I feel like I see this on TikTok all the time, so I'm gonna go on a mini rant here. That is such an oversimplification of, like, everything in the world, because it's just, objectively, as a character, Carol is overpowered, and she is arrogant. and that's why I don't like her. I don't have, like, I mean, I don't viciously hate her. I guess she's just very low on my list of, like, my ranking of characters in the MCU. And that is certainly not because she's a strong female character, because I love Black Widow, I love Wanda, I love all these characters. It's just that Carol gets on my nerves a lot. And it just bothers me when people are all like, oh, if you don't like this part, you're sexist, blah, blah, blah. Because it's just that there's a difference between being, like, progressive and having a powerful female character and then being, like, too much. Like, that scene in Endgame was too much. Carol is too much. But, like, this movie, this was not too much. This was good because because they you know, they had character flaws and they had development and they were, like, interesting and they were likable. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it felt like they were conceived and, like, created as real characters first, and, like, the whole, like, strong, independent woman thing kind of came, like, as a byproduct of their character, rather than a product like Captain Marvel being more so like, okay, we want this character to be a strong, independent woman, and that's what we base this around, instead of actually giving them a character first. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, because it's, I mean, like, when you have a character who's so powerful that's just like, oh, I don't need you guys, I'm gonna go kill Thanos. I'm so powerful, look at me glow and take over this stuff. And then she barely does anything in the last movie, except for, like, make a couple arrogant comments and be all like, hey, I'm so powerful, I'm better than all of you. I don't know, it just doesn't make her very likable to me. Maybe when she gets a second movie eventually I'll like her more, but at the moment I do not. And that is not because I'm scared of a strong female character being in the MCU, and it bothers me when people say that about characters like that. They're just like, I don't know, I just don't like when people have, like, significant judgments about other people based off of, like, things they like. Because it's just so not something you can make a huge judgment on. It's just, like, some random opinion about something in pop culture. Depending on how they voice that opinion, then you can make a judgment on it. But, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there are ways to go about things, and there are ways that you should not go about things. And the internet is a good place to see both.
But if you do want a strong female character who's pretty epic, you can watch this movie. You can also go see Black Widow or Premiere Access it. That it's pretty expensive to Premiere Access it. It's more worth it to just see it in theaters. I have a vlog coming out today about my experience seeing it in 4D, which is pretty cool. So you could go watch that. I have other vlogs. They're, like, supposed to be daily vlogs, but I keep forgetting to do them. So, like, there's been, like, a couple days that I missed lately, but it's fine. And then we also have regular videos coming out every weekend. I have a video coming out this weekend. It's going to be about Loki. Jenna had a video that came out last weekend, which is pretty cool. And yeah, we post a new we post a new episode of this podcast every Wednesday. If you're on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and do all that fun stuff. Share with your friends. If you're not on YouTube, hello. You could probably follow us wherever you are, or save us, or whatever you want to do. And if you want to see our other content on YouTube, you can come over to YouTube and subscribe to us. It would be really cool, and it would mean a lot. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. It truly makes our day when you do. And we will see you guys next time. Jenna, do you have anything to add?
You see, when I say I want to be a librarian when I get older eventually, people don't realize that, like, this is actually what I'm talking about. Like, talking about real books? Nah. Being a hit woman librarian? That's where it's at.
Okay, bye!